1, 2, 3, the lawn feed.
Welcome to another episode of the Lawn Feed Podcast. Collectively, we are three dads with a strong passion for lawn care. We deliver everything lawn care to you in a simplified, easy to listen to space where all experience levels are welcome, egos are left out the door, successes are celebrated, and there are no failures. There are only learning moments with a W. I'm Vince. I'm your host tonight, and with me is Andrew the Dad Bod Lawn and Chris Ope. It's Mo Time. What's up, guys?
Hello,
Vincent.
And you might see another face down in the corner if you're watching us on the YouTubes. Tonight we have a special guest with us, Mike Mulchin, who is the Northeast Regional Sales Manager for PA New Jersey for New Farm. Welcome, Mike.
Appreciate you guys having me on. Squeeze me into your podcast. Looking forward to seeing where this goes.
yeah,
Absolutely.
It'll be awesome. Well, we're going to get into a little bit more about Mike and POA Triv and POA Annua, which is a hot topic right about now. But first, we want to thank our friends over at Twin City Seed for powering this season and episode of the Lawn Feed Podcast, built on the reputation of superior service, accuracy, and sustainability with custom blending and packaging, high-performance product, and a team of dedicated experts. Twin City Seed is a North American leader for giving us DIYers the highest quality in premium and elite grass seed for your next project, whatever that might be. Save money on your grass seed by using promo code LawnFeed10, and on top of that, receive free shipping by pairing promo code FREESHIP24. Twin City Seed is proudly serving all of North America. Check them out at www.twincityseed.com and twincityseed.ca for our northern neighbors up in Canada. Woo!
Yes, sir.
Business is booming up there in Canada.
Yeah, it is.
It's good you guys thought out.
I did a seeding project, you guys. It's I think we're officially all in like lawn season.
Yeah.
It's funny seeing you like just now seeding and mowing and stuff, and like it's like reminiscing, like spring. That was like 2 months ago. Man, what a good time that was. And like Mike's close to me. He's in Pennsylvania, and we're nearing the hot and humid days now.
We're probably not far behind you, unfortunately.
Yeah, it escalates quickly, typically. Not much of a spring the last couple of years.
Oh, man.
If we can kick this rain, we'll be even better. Whew.
Right.
Haven't seen the sun in 2 weeks.
Get that vitamin D, right? All right. We have a tradition to carry on with, which is Dad's Wins and Losses, which is sponsored by our friends over at WaySafe and their trailer hitches. WaySafe is the only trailer hitch on the market built with built-in scales to measure tongue weight to ensure the safest towing experience possible to keep you and your family safe while towing. Use code TLF15 at checkout for 15% off your order at way-safe.com. Let's kick this bad boy right off.
A lawn feed tradition where we tap into who we are at heart. Dads! This is Dad's Wins and Losses, where we tap into our inner dad bod father figures and highlight some of the recent wins we've experienced as parents, and of course, vent about the embarrassing losses we take each and every day as dads.
I love you, Daddy.
Aw. Mike, you are our guest. We're going to carry on a tradition here that we have on the Lawn Feed Podcast. Whenever we have a guest on, we usually tackle these between ourselves, and we have plenty to share. But we're going to take a breather and turn the ball over to you for one win and one loss as parents. So I maybe just a brief overview of what you got at home and a couple wins and losses that you got.
So I've got a 5-year-old at home, just a single child. So unfortunately, he's spoiled like any other single child in this world. So me and my
only child club. What is that?
Yeah, one and done, unfortunately, or fortunately, I should say, for that matter. But I would say a win and a loss with having a kid, man. The win I would say is, well, I'm going to tie it all into one. So the iPad, man, it's a win when you give your child an iPad on a trip, a nice long trip. They're nice and quiet, or you want some quiet time while, he just doesn't stop talking or whatnot. So it's great. But then trying to take that thing away from him, I would say is a loss. Then it's just a complete meltdown, especially right around bedtime. Mm-hmm. So that's my win and loss, I guess, all in one.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you give them the tablet, it's a quick fix, and like as long as they have it in their hands, it's going to be okay. As being a single child, they don't have to worry about the arguing over the tablet or what they're going to watch or who gets to hold it. I deal with that. But yeah, quickly it turns into a loss because they don't like that taken away no matter what the situation is. But appreciate you sharing that. If you guys haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please help us out by reaching our goal of hitting 1,000 subscribers this spring. We are currently sitting at 910, 20, somewhere in there.
919.
So, 919. So do the math yourself because I'm not going to. That's how much we need to reach 1,000.
Do it.
Do it. You won't.
Mike's going to subscribe right now.
Yep.
So we're actually 920.
So now we need 80. Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate
Perfect.
it.
I got you.
Easy math.
But let's talk some grass stuff. Mike, welcome to the Lawn Feed Podcast, and thank you for coming on so short notice. We appreciate you doing that. Could you just take a moment and talk to us about yourself, your role with New Farm, and what exactly New Farm is? Because it's not exactly a super popular name in the DIY lawn care community.
No, I would say you're right there. We're in the lawn care community, as you can tell, especially with Velocity. It seems to be nonstop phone calls emails from homeowners such as yourself, but all good publicity is a good thing. So that's good. But it's a little bit about myself. I've been in I guess we can call it the turf industry since I was about 15 years old. I started on a golf course as a cart guy washing carts for, a few days a week. And then it just led into, I saw the guys on the maintenance staff. I was like, man, I think I could do that. I mowed my yard at home since I was about 7, 8 years old. My dad had me do that and loved doing that every week and turned that passion into a career. Went to school for turf management at Delaware Valley University back in 2006, graduated in 2010. And here I am now. I mean, it worked my way up from assistant superintendent now to a regional sales manager for New Farm.
That's awesome. So you're going to hear, obviously we've got a wealth of knowledge in him coming in. Again, like Andrew said, on short notice, we invited him on because we feel like we've got a hot topic to talk about. And he is our guy that can answer a lot of these different, questions and nuances alongside of it. So it's springtime. A lot of people are getting into that spring flush time. People are beginning to see a lot of stuff just pop up in their lawn. And for us DIYers, especially, catered down to our audience, they don't know what they are, right? They might be some bright lime green spots. They might be seed stalks. They might be different weeds that they just have never seen before. But most commonly, people confuse what we're about to talk about a lot. And more importantly, with the attempt to properly identify and properly manage this with applications of herbicides and things like that, trying to teach our listeners a couple different things, right? So we have POA Annua, POA Triv, we have seed stalks, we have crabgrass, dandelion, all of the different things, right? That just pop up all at once. When it relates to POA, it's very difficult to get rid of. Both are bluegrasses, both that are invasive, create very frustrating problem, especially in lawn enthusiast lawn, and especially in early spring and fall, when they're most noticeable. What we know is that they'll die off due to heat tolerance, especially with POA, like the POA Annua, things like that, but they'll leave seeds where treatment needs to be kind of followed up if we wanted to permanently eradicate these. So control of these can be very, very difficult, not to mention the identification of them. So for you, Mike, what are some, traditional ways out there that you would control POA, knowing that they might be different for each one?
I mean, I hear all the stories. Guys are out there hand picking it, pulling it, using Roundup. Guys are just killing it. So basically killing off their whole yard for that matter, or spot spraying. I've seen guys do that and seed those areas after it dies after, a week or 2 weeks. And, it's crazy what some people are doing. And I think it just comes right back. That seed bed you talked about there. I mean, none of these products kill the seed. So if that seed drops before, well, it doesn't matter if that plant seeds, it's going to drop that seed regardless if you spray it or not. It doesn't kill the seed off, and that seed goes to the ground, and it could live for quite some time. Let's put it that way. And there's nothing really that can stop it from coming up, other than there's some pre-emergence dimension can do something, and some other things that can, but it's not going to be 100%. unfortunately, it's something you're always going to deal with, especially if you have a neighbor that's not, treating their yard for it or trying to eradicate it too as well. So you could have that nice green lawn, and then 2 inches to the left of your property line, it's just all POA or POA Triv, unfortunately for myself.
Yeah. Jake, if you're listening, he's talking about you. You're the neighbor of mine that has plenty of POA, and it washes down in my lawn. But we're working on that. We're working on that. So you guys have a product, and like it's creating a lot of buzz right now. Most people think it's a brand new product. But you're saying earlier that it's been around for a very long time within the ag industry, within a bunch of different industries. What is that product, and is it new? Is it reformulated? So why is it creating a hype now?
Yeah, so this formula is a lot newer than what it was, as far as it's a liquid now. Before it was a dry water dispersible granulate. It would break down the water, and you put it in there. You have to measure it out, obviously, by weight. So that probably turned some homeowners off and some lawn care guys off. Nobody wants to deal with a powder formula. So having a liquid does help to, obviously ease it measuring out. It makes it a lot easier putting in a 1 gallon pump sprayer. But as far as the velocity, it's been around since 2004, and we're lucky enough here at New Farm that one of our tech services managers actually came from, he was we call him the father of this product, to be honest with you. He was in development of it, and here we are here in 2024 relaunching it again as a liquid. So the program back then was totally different than kind of what they envisioned, what it is now, I guess we'll call it that. This is more of a slower program, especially for the golf course world. So that's kind of where it was probably where they try to sell most of it was in golf back in 04 to 2018 is when it was kind of taken off the market, just because of lack of sales. It was really expensive, so nobody in lawn care really looked at it, to be honest with you. Maybe some sod farmers did look at it, and there might have been a lawn care guy here or there, but it was, people think it's expensive now. It was a lot more back then.
Now, POA Annua and POA Triv are related to Kentucky bluegrass, which is also a POA. Does velocity kill Kentucky bluegrass? Is it safe on other grass types? And how should somebody go about testing velocity in their lawn to make sure it's not going to just kill everything?
So as you said, it is in that bluegrass, let's say, family. Obviously, it's not POA Annua or POA Triv, but being a bluegrass, unfortunately, certain cultivars could be susceptible to bronzing at probably the least amount, as the most severe amount of injury would be some turf thinning and death. So that would be what I'd look out for. So anybody that has Kentucky bluegrass, I would say to do a 10 by 10 section in their yard for about, do the 2 applications, wait 21 days to a month, and see what they get after that application. If you're seeing a little bit of discoloration, so I've seen some lime greening in my yard right now. I'm not really too worried about it. It didn't really thin anything out. It just kind of discolored it a little bit. And honestly, you probably wouldn't even be able to tell. I sprayed my yard with it, unless, unfortunately I spot sprayed and didn't do a blanket F. So you can see the different areas that are darker green than where I sprayed. But I think to the average homeowner, I would think, unless you're spraying up against somebody else's yard that's really green, you probably wouldn't notice it as much.
So it's not necessarily some super hot product that's just going to wipe out your entire turf. It can,
yes.
But by doing the spot spray, you're showing that this product is safe for your lawn if you're applying it at the correct rates. And it's not technically a hot product then.
No, it's not. I mean, we're recommending spraying it when it's 70 to 90 degrees out. So if it was a hot product, it would smoke it in probably a few hours. So no, it's a pretty water soluble product. So nothing you really have to worry about as far as the product being hot. It's just, let's call it, I guess, hot on certain grass species, namely POA Annua and POA Triv. And like I said, it's certain cultivars of bluegrass. A lot of the older varieties, I mean, they did trials, the NTEP trials way back in the day on, which varieties were safe and which ones weren't. And there's a whole list. It's almost like 50-50, to be honest with you. I've got a 2-year-old yard here, and like I said, I saw some liming of it. It wasn't any type of bronzing. It's just kind of like I can't really explain it. It's just like a lime green look, and probably got it from the regulation I got from the application too as well. So as far as it also regulates your turf too as well. So if you go out and spot spray, you will notice where you sprayed, the turf will not grow as fast as the turf around it. So you'll see these patches of high turf around it, probably nice and green, and the patches where you sprayed, it'll be nice and regulated.
So speaking of regulation, we haven't talked about growth regulators too much on this channel, but if you are applying a growth regulator, can you still apply velocity? I saw that you can mix them together, but if you're regulating, is that going to create an issue?
Yeah, so you could get some, I don't want to say possible overregulation. I'd be more worried, not even really worried, but more worried about that in the golf course world where you're mowing at half inch to quarter of an inch in some areas. As far as lawns, I mean, yeah, I guess you have to be worried about it. I would probably dial back on your growth regulator apps if you do happen to make that application. So probably cutting them in half at least for that first app is our recommendation, and kind of go from there. As you make more applications, well, I guess you're only making 2 applications. It starts to get used to it. So you don't see any type of discoloration or overregulation. That color you get when you overregulate a turf for that matter.
Okay. And one more thing about the grass types. Do you have to spot spray if you have like all tall fescue or all perennial rye?
Now you can do blanket applications. I mean, you guys are, I get a bunch of questions. Hey, I'm seeing POA Triv now, but I'm not going to see it when you're recommending that ambient air temperature of 70 to 90 degrees consistent. I mean, those are the guys you're going to have to blanket app if you don't know exactly where you had those spots. It's not that the grass really necessarily dies off. So, some of it will die off, obviously in the heat and humidity, but a lot of it will go dormant. A lot of it just kind of masks itself, especially when the heat and humidity comes around. You guys probably have read POA Annua, POA Triv does not like that hot weather and humidity. So over time, it does start to, let's call it take a vacation during the summer months and rear its head back out in the early fall time. On the golf course side of things, spring and fall for POA Annua greens especially are the times to play it. Whereas during the summer, you're babying them to get it through the heat and humidity to get you to the optimum playing times in that late September, October timing when the temperatures cool down, especially the overnight temperatures.
So again, we're talking about POA Annua, POA Triv, and how to effectively eradicate it or control it and manage it. One thing that we haven't done in the episode that I think might be helpful is key characteristics of the two, so people can maybe help identify what the heck it is in their yard. And then we've talked a little bit about the product, but when to apply it. So let's talk about maybe some key identification characteristics of both, and then when to apply to treat.
Okay, as far as POA Triv, a lot of guys are probably seeing POA Triv. Well, they're seeing POA Annua and POA Triv right now, but the POA Triv really stands out. It just grows a lot taller than your normal grass. I don't know if you're seeing it now, Vince, or have seen it in the past. It looks probably double the height of the grass around it. So that's more of the POA Triv what you have there. As far as the POA Annua, you aren't getting that higher. I mean, it grows, but you're not seeing it. It doesn't get as high. You get more seeding, visible seeding, I would say, out of the POA Annua than you would the POA Triv, even though the POA Triv does seed. Just we keep cutting it off every week when we mow our yard, so you're just dropping more and more seed as you go across. Unfortunately, as I said, it's a never-ending battle. But yeah, it's those lime green, light green colors in your yard, whether they be patches or big sections. That's POA Annua, POA Triv. I mean, if you look up close, it's a lot easier to identify them than probably from a distance, other than, as I mentioned, on that height difference there with the POA Triv to the POA Annua, or just the desirable turf you want, ryegrass, bluegrass, fescues and whatnot.
If someone has a kind of a blend, so they've got let's just say all of the cool season grasses in one, and POA Triv comes up, is that going to grow faster? You said it's going to grow faster, but I guess how can someone differentiate that from normal grass that's in their yard that just might be a different color?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough unless you're a trained scientist or you have a microscope and put it under the microscope. That's really the only way. I mean, like I said, personally, I go off of color and just how it looks in the lawn. To be honest with you, as far as the actual characteristics, I've only had a 4-year degree. I don't have the PhD, unfortunately. But
For like POA Triv, it's you can like hand pull that out, and with like the stolons and stuff, it's super shallow roots like the POA Annua. But like if you try and spread the POA Triv, it's like it's got this weird network that's different from like your Kentucky bluegrass. So for people, if you're questioning whether or not it's POA Triv or not, look if it's grown taller than your Kentucky bluegrass. Look at a section that you know that little weedy spot's not at. Look at the root structure. Can you pull it up? Then go look at the other lime green section, and you can see the difference, whether or not that's potentially POA Triv or not.
When I had Triv, I'd run my fingers through it, and like my normal grasp, my fingers would kind of comb through it normal, but like with Triv, it would catch and not run through it as easy. And it was almost like a rubbery, grippy texture.
Yeah, it's rough stock bluegrass, so yeah, it's not the smoothest of grass blades. But yeah, and then it's even tougher to really pick it out, especially people that aren't fertilizing their yards. So if you still, if you're under fertilized and everything may look that same color, you may not really be able to tell come time June. Like I said, as we talked about with POA Triv, you really can't. It kind of sinks back in there, and it's kind of that same, doesn't grow as rapid, and it kind of just, I don't want to say it goes dormant, but I guess it goes kind of dormant going into those heat and humidity there in the summertime. So that just makes it tougher to find it. And as I mentioned, everybody wants to spray it now, and I tell people August, and the only way you're going to get it is if you make a blanket application, unless you remember exactly your GPS map where you have it, which nobody's going to do that as a
drop some flags in the yard and keep them
spray paint. Yeah, just spray paint those areas.
Yeah.
So you're saying best time to apply it is early spring?
I mean, realistically, I guess if you want to be able to, spot spray and get it, I mean, our recommendation is the 70 to 90 degree ambient air temperature. And, this spring it obviously got a lot warmer quicker than it did this time last year. Let's put it that way. I think last year at this time, we were still trying to get out of, we still had some frost, to be honest with you. I haven't seen a frost around here in probably a couple of weeks here in Pennsylvania, thank God. Mm-hmm. So, but I mean, could have you gone out now, or could have you gone out a month ago? I mean, like, as I mentioned, I did some trialing in my yard, and I actually went out early April, which is totally not off of what we recommend, just to see what it did, in case people went out there and did it, because not everybody, people get antsy, and I was kind of antsy too, just to see what it would do. And it actually worked really well in the POA Triv. Now it was slower than maybe it would have been if I made it at the correct, application timing, that 70 to 90 degree ambient air temperature, but it did work, and it worked really well in the POA Triv. The POA Annua, a little slower on that. It's still on its way out the door, but if you looked at those spots in my yard, if it wasn't, 9 o'clock here at night, I'd go out there and show you a picture of it. It's just really slow is what it is, especially in these outside of that temperature range. And then above 90, you're not going to want to make those applications. It's just too hot. And then that's where you may even see some damage on some of the desirable turf if you're getting above that 90 degree range. So you do need to be careful there.
So if you do, go ahead, Chris.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you, like you did a little earlier. So if you have a lot of POA Annua, you could do it a little earlier and get that seed head suppression too, correct?
Yeah, it does suppress some seed heads. I'm not going to say it's going to suppress all seed heads.
Yeah.
So it would help. It's just, like I said, it's slow. I mean, everybody, as a homeowner, you want instant gratification. You want to see the next day that it's on its way out the door, and you're not going to have that with this product. Unfortunately, it's slow and steady wins the race. As I mentioned, that POA Triv, I would for year one here, I'd recommend it. I should probably back up. I don't know if I'd recommend it. So what I've seen for year one, eventually maybe I'll recommend some people, if they call me to ask, maybe they can go out that early. But I would still recommend going off of what we recommend on our sheets that we have out there on our website and what that 70 to 90 degrees is really the timing on this one, especially on POA Annua. As I mentioned, it's really seems to be slow in that, especially this time of year. You really need that heat and humidity, because it's kind of a 1-2 punch there. You have the velocity that's, eating at that POA Annua, POA Triv, and then you have the heat and humidity that it doesn't like it. So, like I said, you get a 1-2 punch with that. And I think POA Annua that I have probably would have been dead by now if I would have waited. But the Triv seems to be pretty much gone. So that's a plus. But
So you apply it this spring or fall or whenever you do it. Let's say for POA Annua, or I guess both. You've got the seeds that drop. What should we expect next year?
You definitely should see less of a population the following year. I'm not going to say you're going to be 100% clean. I mean, it's going to kill whatever you spray that's up. Like I said, it's not going to kill the seed, but it will kill that plant that's up right now. But as you mentioned, you do aerification, you do I don't know if you guys aerify your yards or whatnot. You're just bringing that seed bed back up. So you could have POA in there from 5, 10, 15 years ago, seed that comes up. And,
sure,
there's some golf course superintendents out there that won't pull cores on, say fairways. So they won't pull a plug out of there and just keep hitting that seed into the ground. And that's how they're managing to keep their fairways pretty clean, POA Annua, by just keep pushing it deeper and deeper and deeper. Where actually you're disrupting that seed bed. You're disrupting it, bring it to the surface. You get some rain, some good weather. It's gonna grow just like that, unfortunately, like a weed.
So for our audience who is not into a product or this far into their journey quite yet, you would treat this very similar to a standard post-emergent. Doesn't prevent anything from coming up necessarily. It only really tackles what has grown so far. My understanding.
That's correct. Yeah, there's unfortunately, there's no pre-emergent control. Like I said, there's a few out there.
That would be nice.
Nothing, I think that's bulletproof. And there's things that could help.
There's no magic pill to have a perfect lawn, is what you're saying.
No, I mean, unless you're the whole neighborhood or in a 20-mile radius where seed wouldn't blow in, but even then, it probably somehow somebody will track it in on their feet or something like that. So it's
flies over.
Yeah, I mean, you see, baseball fields, professional baseball fields. You can see the patches and the outfields. It's inevitable, unfortunately. Yeah. And those guys are, crowded on all sides. So how's that getting in there? So.
Right.
Now, you were saying that it doesn't have any pre-emergent properties, and one of the ways to prevent POA Annua is actually a fall pre-emergent, which is kind of a double-edged sword, because when you kill off all your POA Annua and Triv, you're going to need to seed, and fall is the time to do that. So you can't use a pre-emergent, right?
Correct.
So what is the seeding window for seeding after your last application of velocity? Yeah.
So I don't know, actually we went over the program, but so the program for velocity is 2 applications at 2.25 ounces to the acre, 14 to 21 days apart. If you're spot spraying, that comes out to be a 1.5 milliliters per gallon of water. If you're going to go out there with a spot sprayer, still doing it 14 to 21 days apart. After that second application you can seed around 10 days after that second application. So, which is really nice, which is why I've been recommending that August timing, trying to, kill off your POA Annua, POA Triv right now, and then seeding into the summer in the heat and humidity. I mean, it's not the easiest to get a yard or seed to grow going into the summer, especially if you're not going to spray it for fungicides. You have diseases, insects. It's just, it's tough when it's 90, 95 degrees out trying to grow a 4-month-old yard. So obviously optimal timing for seeding would be, that late August, early September, at least in my area here in that Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York area, here in the Northeast.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of, like you said, Andrew, it's kind of a double-edged sword, and don't do things in the right order. Well, you learn very quickly. They're not failures, though. Remember that, right?
Right.
So obviously not all you offer at New Farm, right? So any other unique products you'd like to talk about? This is a good platform.
Yeah, I mean, New Farm. So I know you asked me earlier, and I don't think I actually answered the question. So what New Farm is, we're an Australian-based company. So our headquarters, global headquarters are based in Australia. We're our U.S. headquarters, or North America headquarters, are here in Allsup, Illinois. So about a 2.5-hour plane ride from my house. But our big thing is herbicides. That's our bread and butter. I mean, we make, like I mentioned, we have Velocity right here. We have a bunch of broadleaf weed herbicides, some grassy weed herbicides, and I'm sure you guys are getting questions. Sedges and Kalinga is another big one, at least in my area. I don't know, Vince. I'm sure you're seeing it down there in Lancaster County.
Yeah.
But Solero is another big one. That's a huge one for us, actually, for sedges and Kalinga. It's an actual kill, not a burn down by some standards of some of the products that are out there. I'm not saying they don't work at all, but hitting them when they're in a at the adult stage, burning it down, it just comes right back. Whereas Solero is an actual kill down to the root and nutlets. So in my area, that's a big one. Like I mentioned, we had some broadleaf weed herbicides, Escalade, which is a 2,4-D fluroxapura mix and dicamba mix. And then we also have Cool Power, Horsepower, two non-2,4-D options that are pretty popular in this northeast region. And then you mentioned growth regulators earlier. We do have a plant growth regulator that's really taken off in the golf course world. It's called it's actually a new formulation, a new EZ. It's a liquid formulation of our older, like the new WDG. So not used much in the lawn care world. I think it has a use for it that many people don't, realize or know right now. So it's something we're trying to get out there more and more. I mean, if you want to increase your density and turf color on your yard, I can show you some pictures of a side by side of where you're spraying a new and where you're not. It's just a lot greener than that, where you're not spraying it. And the other benefit of it, you have a nice green, healthy lawn, and you're not maybe mowing or making as much of a mess when you're mowing, especially this time of the year. As you guys know, you're probably mowing twice a week now, depending on, if you're fertilizing and whatnot. It's not this is probably the time we're getting that mower out twice a week, unfortunately, until about mid-June or mid-end of June, or if you get a heat wave coming here sooner, hopefully.
And we can attest to that too, right? We've got a couple of, maybe all of us, I can't remember, Andrew, if you have or not, but we've all used a new in some way, shape, or form.
Okay.
And it's actually really insane. Like the concept of it as like a beginner realizing what a plant growth regulator is and then what it does, and then realizing some of the benefits. The one downside, it is kind of complicated, right? If you haven't taken that dive quite yet, without any experience in there. But it was really interesting. And last year we had Aaron on, which was a really, really good episode to learn a little bit more on like the fungicides, on the fungicide part. And he went really in depth with the plant growth regulator and PGR. So that was actually a super interesting episode, which you certainly tune into that if you haven't tuned into that. Vince, I know you use it, right?
It's last year. I feel like there's a stigma behind the plant growth regulator. It's like you're going to kill your lawn, you're going to burn your lawn, you're going to over apply. As long as your sprayer is calibrated, you're not going to. And with that episode with Aaron, it was more of a reassurance. So I went out and I sprayed a new and sprayed it in the evening. The next morning, it was literally a shade darker green. Like it was insane. The color changed just overnight. Right now I'm regulating my side lawn, perennial ryegrass, because I just did an overseed on it. So I regulated before I seeded. And the front yard, the Kentucky Blue, I just mowed today. I had a full bag, Toro Time Master 30-inch bagger full of grass clippings. And then I mowed the side yard. And the side yard, I had like a eighth bag full of clippings. Like it was wild. And the colors just on point. Seed head suppression from the POA A has been great. It actually wiped out. I probably sprayed a little hot in the one section. It wiped out the POA for me, which was awesome. So I can see how a new with velocity would really wipe it out for you. So it's a good product. It's something that, if you go on the low rate of it and do a test spot, you'll slowly build your confidence. Just make sure that you're not doing a hose end sprayer. You have a calibrated backpack sprayer when you're making these applications, and you should be fine.
Yeah, no, that's a good one for us. And I mean, like I said, if you're mowing your own yard, you don't want to, clean up that mess, raking grass clippings and all that. Giving a new a try is I would say, give it a try for sure. It's, may not be for everybody, but it's been a good one for us, and glad it's worked for you.
Yeah. And like Velocity has a high price tag. It does. And Anu also has a somewhat high price tag, but if you look at it price per 1,000 square feet, it's not that bad, and it's going to last you a long time. So, if it's in your budget and you want to try it. If not, then maybe next year. when POA Triv's even worse for you. So
Yeah, it doesn't get any better, unfortunately, unless you're going to round up your yard and reseed it. But then eventually, somehow, some way, it creeps back in.
that's what I did last year. I rounded up everything and did a whole renovation. So,
And how much did you see come back after that? Probably not as much, but I'm sure there were
I
spots.
have a very small amount in the perennial rye. I have a lot of POA Annua. Like it's insane how much POA is in the side yard. I was out there hand picking it. It was bad. But we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell.
Yeah, the Annua will help, as you mentioned. It does really regulate I wouldn't say over-regulate, but really regulates that POA compared to, that desirable speed of the ryegrass. The lower end rates for ryegrass really regulates that POA to a point where it starts to over-regulate it, and especially with the heat, humidity, and if you're using velocity. It's a kind of a 1-2-3 punch, we'll call it that, I guess, with the weather temperatures out there and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, Mike, we appreciate you having you coming on to this episode and talking about velocity and now a little bit about plant growth regulators. Is there anything else within New Farm or within velocity, using velocity, that you'd like to hit on?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, just a quick reminder about the program as far as what the program is for lawn care. Those 2 applications at 2.25 ounces to the acre, 14 to 21 days apart. Make sure you're in that 14 to 21 day window. Anything past 21 days, you're pretty much back to square one. So I don't think we went into too much, but velocity is only in that POA Annua plant for up to 21 days. And a lot of the other desirable species, say ryegrass, certain bluegrasses, fescues, turf type, tall fescue, fine fescue, it metabolizes that product quicker. So that's why it's not affecting that plant. Whereas in POA Annua, POA Triv, it just can't metabolize it quick enough. So it kind of starves the plant from, keeping it to grow. And that's how it kind of works. And so that 14 to 21 day window is a must. And then as far as seeding, like I said, 10 days after that second application. And then as far as availability, because I get emails and phone calls, we're currently in production now. So probably more readily available, probably by, I would say, early to mid-June as of right now. So we'll be loading the channel partners up, and they'll be ready to sell it hopefully by no later than mid-June, if not sooner. So
great.
And where can people purchase all of New Farm?
And so we have authorized distributors, a lot that just sell for like the professional use, lawn care really only. Some of them have storefronts. I mean, there's a wide range of distributors. As far as, there's plenty of online stores that sell too. If you just Google search velocity, I know that's kind of my go-to has been as well, since really nobody has any. It seems like some online stores have gotten their hands on it. You can just Google search velocity PM and shopping in Google, and probably a bunch of places will come up. Whether now prices are all going to vary, unfortunately. Some are quite high and some are right on point. So I'll let
some wish.com velocity.
Yeah, the one I saw the other day. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Whew. So
someone's taking their cut.
No, I mean, hey, when you're out of it, right? Not out of it, but when it's tough to find right now, I don't blame them, I guess, but I don't know how much they're selling, if it's still available. So some people that sold out within a day or two on some of their online stores. So we'll see.
All right. Well, that's all awesome stuff. I definitely gained a lot more knowledge and velocity, and, just took away some of the heebie-jeebies of using a product like this and with plant growth regulators. So, Mike, again, from the Lawn Feed, we thank you so much for spending your evening with us DIY hooligans. And we appreciate you, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Mike. You guys know what time it is?
This time?
It's time for the Motown Mailbag.
Join us as we reach deep into the mailbag and answer your questions. If you would like to have a question answered on the Lawn Feed podcast, head to thelawnfeed.com and submit a question.
All
I'm going to
right.
be singing that in my sleep tonight.
Yeah, as you should. Let's dive into this. We got 3 questions, fellas. The first one comes from JR from Oceanside, California.
Sure, his name isn't Junior.
It's an abbreviation.
Oh.
He just submitted his first and last initial, so confidential, which is cool. But it's titled Crabgrass in Southern California. Hey, I moved into a new house in Southern California, and about 50% of the grass is crabgrass and weeds. I'm starting to work on the irrigation because it had very poor coverage. What would be your plan of attack to get the lawn back to striping turf? Thanks, and love the podcast. Thanks,
I think
JR.
you just answered it. Because none of the other issues are going to go away until you get good irrigation coverage. That's
Yep.
my 2 cents.
Yep.
In terms
Get
of
your-
how to treat weeds in a warm season lawn, that is not my forte. So I'm going to defer that to you guys. Probably Vince knows the most about it because you're closest to that. I mean,
Yeah,
you're
but-
opposite ends of the country, but
but
Not
there's
positive
a
it's warm season.
what?
Is it warm season for sure?
Oceanside, California,
Well-
crabgrass in Southern California.
Well, one of the guys that we have a little bit later is from
That's
Fullerton, and
Well,
that's pretty darn close, and that's Blue Resilience he's got.
Yeah, you can have fescue and stuff in Southern SoCal.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Well,
if
then we
he's
should be,
striping
then we
it,
should be fine.
and if he's striping it, then it's
Yeah.
probably cool season too, unless it's Bermuda. So with that being said, I don't know. The big question is here: what does California allow you to have for herbicides?
No battery mowers, that's for sure.
No, only
Or no
battery
gas
mowers.
mowers. No gas mowers.
No battery mowers allowed
No
in
battery
California.
You gotta hand cut all of that stuff in California.
And leave the tag on the mattress, right? Like,
Yeah.
don't take that off.
So we did an episode 2 weeks ago or something like that. It's all about herbicides. So that's gonna basically tell you, go to the big box store, look for herbicides that say safe on grass. They're not gonna kill your grass, not like a Roundup, but it's gonna be effective for your crabgrass. So there's concentrates, which are usually better bang for your buck. Put them in your sprayer and spray them out. And then there's also like hose end spray options that will attack your crabgrass. The best thing for crabgrass and weeds, though, is going to be your preventative measures. So your pre-emergence, but you're probably out of that window now to put that down. I'm assuming in Southern California. Mm-hmm. So at this point, get your irrigation right. Put down a post-emergent herbicide. And then in the fall or whenever is best time for your seeding in California, put down your grass seed and just work on getting a thicker stand of turf. Then in the spring next year, you can be a little bit more proactive and get some pre-emergent down. And I think you'll have a better success doing that.
Vince, you basically said one thing that I was going to say much differently, but you said it way better. But in like to summarize, a lot of our listeners are in this position, right? They have a lawn. It's a kitchen sink of everything, and they want a lawn and they want it striped tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Give yourself, this is a classic case of allow patience to come into your journey. Allow patience to come in there. Give yourself a full 12-month period before you judge whether or not you succeeded or need to readjust and take a different direction, right?
Yeah. A good lawn takes 1-2 years. New construction lawns, 2, 3, 4 years, depending on soil quality. So it's you can see some of these YouTubers planting grass seed and just have an amazing success, but chances are it's not going to be like that. It's going to take at least a year, next spring, next fall, till you really see and weed stripe. You can stripe some weeds.
Weeds do stripe. Speaking of striping, Lawn Striper just came out with something pretty darn cool. It's the Pro Series. It's baller. It is like up 30 inches, and you can do whatever you want with your lawn, all the sorts of patterns and all that stuff. So go check it out, Lawn Striper with a Y.
Yeah. Woo! If you like striping, that's a good kit for sure.
Big stripe guy.
Big stripe guy. All right, now let's actually, this is going to be in Minneapolis, so maybe Chris knows what grass type they have there.
Do we need to roll that intro again, or are we...
I think we're good. Okay. This one comes from David in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's titled, undesirable grass removal. Overall, I have a nice KBG mix in Minnesota, but some thicker clump grasses have moved in. How best to remove before I reseed and timing of reseed after kill?
I honestly don't. I'm not going to say much because I don't have all of the information. What you could do is take out those thicker clump grasses and reseed them when it is best. You can apply a general post-emergent to try to see if that does anything. Otherwise, if it is what I think it is, you could paint glyphosate on it. Is not recommended, but you could just literally paint it to get it out of there, which would kill that plant, and then you could reseed it when it is effectively time to do so. But I don't have all of the information I need. I don't think.
Right.
If it was like a Kentucky 31 or like some type of undesirable fescue or something like that, yeah, you can kill it. I tried that with just POA Triv last spring, and tried seeding even perennial ryegrass, and it just struggled all year round. So if you can hang on until later in the year, closer to the fall when you're going to seed, then you can glyphosate it and get rid of the undesirables, remove that, and then seed there. I think that'd probably be your best. And then back in the label is always going to tell you how long you can seed afterwards. I think glyphosate is like immediately after you can seed, or generally 7 to 10 days is a good window, especially with certain herbicides. But read the label. That always will tell you when you can seed.
David from Minneapolis, if you send us some pictures, I mean, we are more than happy to look at it. We just don't, like, without seeing it, it's tough to like give a definitive way to go.
For sure.
It's easier than we're making it seem like. For sure. We just need to know what it is.
Right. All right. Next and final question comes from Colin M. back out in Fullerton, California. Fungus after spring overseed. Hey fellas, I recently overseeded Blue Resilience from Twin City Seed in my front lawn, and I am experiencing some rust fungus on my new grass blades. I'm in Southern California, so firmly in the transition zone. What is the best way to treat it? I did a granular propiconazole application and cut back on the water frequency. After 2 weeks, it seems to be getting worse. It's a shame because I was getting so many compliments on how dark green my lawn was, but now all I see is faint yellow and thinning. Any advice would be appreciated.
Vince, this is your arena.
Well, propiconazole would help rust. Did you apply it correct rate? Was it calibrated correctly?
Right.
Would be my biggest thing, my biggest question. I personally like liquid over granular as well. They both work, but I just like that coverage you get with the granular, especially because it's a leaf. It's on the leaf itself, so you're attacking that versus the granulars going into the ground, which I guess it could still be absorbed systemically at some point. I'm not a turf scientist, but anyway, there's also something else that he mentioned there, or that he mentioned that faint yellow and thinning. That kind of reminds me of a different type of disease, and without pictures, I don't know. So there could be another pathogen in your lawn that propiconazole will not fix. And if that's the case, check your local extension. See, you can shoot them a picture of your grass and what's going on right now, and they should be able to help you. You can shoot us a DM or email, add some pictures too. That's another thing, guys. If you're submitting some questions, send some pictures if you can, DM us or whatever. That way we can have a good visualization of it and try and help you the best we can. But it definitely seems like there might be a couple of different things going on with this.
Yeah. Do you think it'd be beneficial to try something like azoxystrobin and switch it up, try something different. Yeah, and like you said, I applying at the correct rates, something like Disease X from Scott's, which is azoxystrobin. I think that's a really common one people reach for. They see that it covers, like, I think it's 5,000 square feet, the bag says. So they're like, oh, and they put it over that. Well, that's at the preventative rate. And what you're talking about is treating something that's already there. So you have to pretty much double the rate for that. So yeah, step one, I guess, make sure you have the right rate. 2, is there anything else going on? I mean, maybe propiconazole isn't attacking that. Switch it up. Maybe rotate those 2 fungicides, which is a good thing to do anyways. Shoot us an email or a DM, and we can maybe try to get you some better help offline as well, or off the air as well. So
the other thing I don't think this is necessarily related to this question. Blue Brazilian says Kentucky bluegrass in it. And if you are that far south,
right,
I have no idea what happens because I'm in Minnesota. I'm basically in Canada. Of what happens when you plant Kentucky bluegrass in a southern transition zone area.
Right.
I've seen Kentucky bluegrass work. I have not personally seen it work that far south, so that might have something to do with it as well. But just general PSA of Kentucky bluegrass in blends that far south, I don't know if it would work that well. The rest of that mix is turf type tall fescue to the tune of 90 to 10% respectively. So I don't know enough about really what's going on to say definitively, okay, that's the Kentucky bluegrass showing signs of that.
Mm-hmm.
But it could have something to do with it.
Right.
Yeah, you are pretty south.
Yeah, that's way down there.
I was about to say, I don't know if Kentucky, that's not.
That's Southern California, pretty far down there.
Near San Diego.
Yeah,
San Diego.
And that's a good point, Chris.
Home
I mean,
of the
maybe it
Germans.
is just the KBG really struggling. And,
is fescue that? If it's truly that far south, is tall fescue that?
Yeah, I don't know. This is where
I think they do have it down there.
I think so, but.
And here's the thing about even if it's a 90-10 blend, that's by weight. If you're talking number of seeds in that bag, it's probably closer to 50-50. Because of how small the Kentucky bluegrass seeds are compared to the fescue. So by weight, it's 10% of the bag, but there's probably 3 seeds for every 1 seed of tall fescue weight wise. So I don't know. Maybe there is. Maybe it is the KBG.
If you can, send some pictures over to us, or send some pictures to your local extension, and they'll definitely be able to help you out. They're a great resource. So thank you guys for bringing these Motime mailbag questions to us. We'd love to get to connect with you guys, dive through them a little bit, and get you some answers, or at least point you in the right direction to be able to get some answers to make sure your lawns are staying healthy, green, and you get to stripe them the way that you want. On behalf of the entire Lawn Feed crew, thank you guys so much for joining us on this another episode. And don't forget to elevate your lawn apparel by grabbing a new Motime. It's Motime or Big Grass Guy t-shirt over at lawnfeed.com.
Do it.
And you can save 15% by the amazing promo code Brad15 at checkout. So 15% off your order, Brad15. Stay safe out there. Good luck with this week's venture of parenthood, and we will catch you in the next one. Later.
Bye-bye.
See you.